So Year 9s, yesterday we were working on writing advice for parents about what to do if they thought that their children might be experimenting with drugs. Today we're focusing on the same topic but looking at a different audience. So we're going to be looking at how to use an informal tone when we're giving advice, so for a younger audience, rather than the formal tone that we were using for our adult audience last lesson. So let's have a read through what we've got here using an informal tone. It says the text below is taken from the introduction to an advice leaflet on drugs called The Score. The writer of the text has used an informal tone to offer advice to a teenage audience. The text, written in an informal style, sounds like ordinary speech. It sounds as if the writer's talking directly to the reader. A text with an informal tone is more likely to use the vocabulary and expressions of everyday speech, punctuation that helps the reader to pause, as people do when they're talking, and uncomplicated sentence structures, such as you would use in ordinary conversation. Okay, so if we have a look through the extract, drugs, what's the big deal, that we can see in activity 4, it says everyone has something to say about drugs. Even so, it's still an issue wrapped in myths, and often fiction gets in the way of facts. Knowing the score isn't just about knowing the buzz different drugs can give. It's also about being aware of the effects they can have on your mind, your body, and even the way you live your life. There are serious risks linked to drug taking, so it's vital to get your hands on information you can trust. The score puts you squarely in the picture about drugs. It answers questions, sorts problems, explains the risks, and drops in on dilemmas and debates. Whatever your viewpoint, there's something inside for everyone. So if we look at the different features that have been used then, the first bullet point says everyday expressions. Well, things like what's the big deal in the title would be an everyday expression, something that you'd be more likely to say than necessarily read. So have a look through that extract, see if you can find any other everyday expressions, things that you'd be more likely to say. The second bullet point, compound sentences using simple connectives. Well, if we look at the blue note over the other side, you've got the compound sentence. Even so, it's still an issue wrapped in myths, and often fiction gets in the way of facts. So you've got a compound sentence there joined by the word and. Can you find any other compound sentences in that piece of writing? And then finally, right at the bottom, the last paragraph, just one sentence long. Whatever your viewpoint, there's something inside for everyone. It says the dash indicates a pause. It's similar to a pause in conversation. What other punctuation mark is used to give the text a conversational feel? Okay, so you have a look at a different punctuation mark that's used somewhere in that piece of writing that makes it sound more like a conversation. So have a go at answering those 3 questions, and then we'll move on. So if we just quickly go through those, an everyday expression we were looking for to begin with. We said drugs, what's the big deal? In the title was an everyday expression. Other things we could have had just here, knowing the buzz different drugs can give you, certainly an everyday expression there. Drops in on dilemmas and debates. That's another everyday expression you could putting you in the picture about drugs. So quite chatty, informal phrases. Second thing we were looking for was another example of a compound sentence. Okay, so we've got an example just down here. There are serious risks linked to drug taking, so it's vital to get your hands on information you can trust. So we've got the connective so, which is joining the 2 parts of that sentence. And then we were looking for another punctuation mark other than the dash, which helps to give the text a conversational feel. Well, at the end of this paragraph here, we've got the ellipsis, the ... that makes it sound more of a chatty piece of writing. So what we're going to be having a go at now is writing the first draft of a page for a booklet advising young people not to take drugs to improve their sporting performance. Just like the one we did yesterday, we're writing about 3 or 4 paragraphs, but yesterday it was for an adult audience, so it was quite formal. Today it's for teenagers, for young people, so we're going to be using more of the informal features in this piece of writing. We can start off by looking at the facts in the fact box. So we've got taking drugs to improve performance is cheating. Taking drugs can result in more injuries to the drug taker. Anabolic steroids are dangerous for young people's health and can stop normal growth. Boys can grow breasts and girls more body hair. Discovery of drug taking results in the drug taker being banned from the sport. Fitness, concentration, and commitment are as important as winning. Okay, so it says you'll notice the text on page 146, that's the one we were looking at a minute ago, drugs, what's the big deal, uses short paragraphs to ensure readers can access information easily and quickly. So you're going to need to be using short paragraphs in your piece of writing. Let's look through these steps. So the first step, remember to use everyday expressions and language. Make it sound more like you're chatting to somebody. Use a variety of sentence types. For example, simple sentences for emphasis and snappy effects, compound sentences for linking ideas, complex sentences for providing results or causes. And use punctuation marks such as question marks and dashes, which make the reader pause as in ordinary conversation. Step 2 then, we've got a few words in there that might help you. Cheating, influence, success, failure, unfair, self-respect, dangerous, enjoyment, inadvisable, stupid, damaging, or sensible. And as it says underneath, if some of those words sound a bit too formal, if you think they're not really the sorts of words that I would use if I was talking to a friend, then think about synonyms, use a dictionary, have a look online of different words that have got the same meaning, but a more chatty sort of style, more informal. And then step 3, when you've completed your draft, ask somebody at home to have a look and to go through with you where you've used informal language and where you've used punctuation correctly. As with all the work, if you want to email it to me, that's absolutely fine. You should spend about 15-20 minutes on this. Off you go.